Hey there, Optimize Self ninjas and ninjettes, and welcome back to the Optimize Self Show. As always, I'm your host, Justin Archer, aka the proud sensei of the Optimize Self Dojo, which we'll get into a little bit later. And of course, this here, the Optimize Self Show. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time and is wondering what the Optimize Self show and the dojo and basically everything under the Optimize Self Ninja umbrella is all about, well, just like it says here on the screen, we are all about rediscovering health, upgrading fitness, and optimizing wellness, all while having fun, kicking ass through lifestyle design. And those last two keywords, well, are key. I guess that's why they call them keywords. It's about lifestyle design. So we don't, focus on any one particular way about going about rediscovering health, upgrading fitness, and or optimizing wellness. So it's not just talking about exercise or just diet. It's taking into consideration and factoring in everything from your breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise, as well as things like your environment and mindset, factoring those all in. Because after all, total health is accumulative. Your body is a stimulus response organism that's constantly responding to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. And so it's what you do the majority of the time that matters, not your best intentions. And that's what we both practice and preach here on the show. So that's a little synopsis of what we're all about. Anyways, we have an exciting show today. This is episode 14. And today we're going to be talking about things like hip flexor pain, scoliosis, and where to begin when you're struggling with multiple symptoms, okay? Also, let me actually say hi here. Give me 1 second. Hey there, for those of you seeing me the first time. And actually, let me put up a display name here on the lower third. I have yet to automate this. I need my wife Anya, Mrs. Ninja, who is the graphic designer in the family. She's very artistic, to help me with this. We just haven't got around to it. The good thing is that YouTube Live / Google Hangouts, they make it really easy to do. I can flip the switch on like that, and look at that. Literally just in the few seconds you saw me looking down there and doing all that, boom, I came up with that. It's not the prettiest thing, mind you. I know Anya can do a lot better, but for a couple seconds invested, pretty darn good. So that's me. That's where you can find me, over at optimizeself.ninja. Like I said, we're going to be talking about hip flexor pain, scoliosis, where to begin, how to begin when you're struggling with multiple symptoms. But also today, I think, is going to be a good example of why I strongly encourage people to head over to optimizeself.ninja and take the Optimize Self test, because I actually have 6 questions I'm going to be answering today. I usually try to keep it to 3, but I'm going to be able to answer 5 in probably the same amount of time, or possibly even less than it takes me to answer 1. Excuse me, because when people take the Optimize Self test, and you can see what it's about by heading over to optimizeself.ninja, but basically what it is it's a simple Google form. It takes you a few minutes to fill out, and it actually asks you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how you're doing in terms of your breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise, environment, mindset, what I refer to as the foundations of health. And then, what's the measuring stick to determine how you're doing on that? Basically, how do you know what you know? And I think when people do that, it causes them to self-reflect. And then after that is a place where you can ask me questions that I can answer on the show. And it always, when people go through that route, one, after kind of taking into consideration all those things, people form better quality questions, which leads to me being able to provide them better quality answers. And also, they give me more information to go off of, the information I need to give them more specific advice as how to proceed, how to get the best result. Here. Got a little froze. There we go, it's back. The content here on the show be contextual. I don't want to just talk about something generally, although it may help you. I would love to speak specifically towards you, whoever you are asking the question, okay? So Anyways, I will answer 5 quick questions from some young grasshoppers from various sources like YouTube, email, video post comments, and then spend significantly more time answering a question sent in from a new Optimize Self Dojo member. And we'll talk a little bit about how YouTube can become a member of the Optimize Self Dojo. We'll leave that till the end of the show. But also the same person I'm referring to, Barbara is her name, my new best friend from the Great North. Yay, Canada. I'm not Canadian, I just love it there. She had the initiative to take the Optimize Self test. So that'll be the final question that I answer today, but we're gonna go much deeper and wider into that since she took the Optimize Self test. All right. So with that being said, let's get down to those 5 first questions. But for those of you that don't know, we do the Optimize Self drinking show. Every time I switch between questions and topics, you take a drink of water. You can do something stronger if you want, but I prefer water. Keeps me hydrated, keeps you guys hydrated, so cheers. Okay, so let's see. Question number 1, Fit Chick with a C from YouTube comments on the video I had done in the past titled Correcting Common Posture Deviations, Anterior Pelvic Tilt with External Rotated Femurs, aka athlete hips. Let's see, she says, I have anterior pelvic tilt. So for those of you that don't know what that is, that's basically where your pelvis is tilted forward. Usually it kind of looks like your butt's stuck out, and there's usually a bit of a lordotic or more than normal curve in your lower back. So I have an anterior tilt with kneecaps that turn inward. So if you're looking at the kneecaps, they'd be like this, right? She's a former runner, having so much hip flexor pain and trying to find the source. All right, so Fit Chick with a C, and it's a capital C. Thank you for writing in. Hopefully you watched the little bit before this where I talked about the importance of the Optimize Self test. So right off the bat, I'll recommend you to go over to optimizeself.ninja, take the Optimize Self test. It's right under the one and only video player. There's a button there. It's big, red, orange. Can't miss it. Click there, take the test. But also I will make sure to link up in the show notes. And by show notes, I mean if you're watching this on YouTube or you click on the link to watch on YouTube, it'll be in the description area. Three posts that I think you would benefit from. One is short and tight versus long and taut athletic posture types. So again, check for that in the show notes below. The other is titled Don't Confuse Hip Flexor Weakness for Tightness. Again, linked in the show notes below. And last but certainly not least, why most people should not be running. Before I get any comments or judgments or anything, attacks, watch the video, you'll see. I actually love running. I don't do too much of it currently, but ran for years, really enjoyed it and still do enjoy it occasionally. But check that post out as well. So those 3 places I would definitely recommend. And then, yeah, take the Optimize Self test because then I'll have more information as well as I think after taking it, you'll be able to ask me more specific questions and I'll be able to give you more specific, higher quality answers that are more specific to your unique situation, what you're dealing with right now, okay? So thank you, Fit Chick with a C from YouTube for commenting. All right, let's switch to the next one. Cheers. Okay, let's see. Matt Bishop from YouTube comments on an exercise video tutorial that I had done called supine foot circles and point flexes, and says, thanks for making the videos. I tweaked my back a few years ago and hasn't been right since. Doing some of your exercises have helped. So Matt, I'm glad to hear that some of the exercises are helping. What I would recommend is continue doing the exercises that have helped, but keep in mind that as important as postural alignment is and the exercises you use to realign your posture and restore function to your body, it pales in comparison to the 6 other foundations of health, being breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, and movement. Not to mention things like your environment and mindset, both of which are constantly and always forever influencing pain, posture, and performance, okay? And the best way I would recommend taking those into consideration You can look at some past episodes over on optimizeself.ninja. There's a playlist. This will be number 14. But like I recommended, Fit Chick with a C, I just like doing that today. Like I recommend she do is go to optimizeself.ninja and take the Optimize Self test. It's the big red and orange button below the video player. Will you be watching this? Go take that, and I think that will help you, again, kind of take into consideration all those foundations of health and the information you put in there and the questions you ask me. I will be able to, like I'm going to do for Barbara towards the latter end of this episode, be able to go much deeper and wider into what I recommend you do next so that you make continual progress. Okay, but thank you for your comment / question. All right, thanks. All right, I think we're making pretty good progress here. On to the next one. Okay. Gigi Gonzalez sent an email, and I believe previously asked a question about cats and dogs, about what are the benefits of cats and dogs, to which I replied, you know, basically flexion, taking your pelvis and your spine through flexion and extension. And Gonzalez says, thanks for replying. It's really appreciated. Last question though, how does the cat dog benefit someone with scoliosis through flexion extension of the spine if their spine is offset, meaning laterally kind of shifted or leaning to one side? Thanks again. So very good question. You know, a lot of people think, okay, well, scoliosis is something, you know, in a different plane. Flexion extension is front to back. Scoliosis is usually, you know, lateral along with some rotation sometimes. So how could something like cats and dogs benefit that? Wouldn't something, I'm assuming this is Gonzalez's kind of thinking process, and for a lot of people it is, and it used to be mine, is wouldn't you want to do more side-to-side movements to correct scoliosis? Well, you're not wrong. Lateral movement, rotational movement is really great at helping reverse scoliosis. But a lot of times lateral offset as well as rotation, adjust the camera here, otherwise known as scoliosis, is often a compensation for missing flexion extension. So if you're missing a certain amount, say a couple degrees of range of motion, flex extension in your spine, or one side of your pelvis, or maybe the knee, or somewhere else like that, your body will make up for it. And some of the ways that it does so is through a lateral offset or sometimes rotation of the spine, what we refer to as scoliosis. So by feeding your body that flexion extension of the spine and the pelvis, that cats and dogs do, by restoring that range of motion, it will feed slack to the body and kind of stop that compensating pattern of the lateral offset and rotation, aka scoliosis. All right. So hopefully that helps, Gonzalez. Like I've been recommending everybody do that I answered before, and I think 2 or 3 more I have after before we get to Barbara's question. Please go to optimizeself.ninja, take the Optimize Self test, and I will be able to better advise, you know, how you go about things to help correct your scoliosis. I've had some myself. I've worked with people with much more severe curvatures than myself. I'm not sure what yours is. So yeah, definitely go there, take the test. That way, basically, the way I always explain it is for people taking the test is you're helping me help you more, all right? As well as helping yourself. A lot of people say when they take the test, they go, oh, I didn't really think about that before, and they kind of learn something new about themselves or discover something, think of something they hadn't thought of before. So check it out, and hopefully I'll get a little notification saying you took the test, and then I can answer your question your questions that you leave for me there more thoroughly in an upcoming episode of the Optimize Self Show. All right. So thank you, Gonzalez, for the question. All right, moving on to the next one. Making good time here. Okay, I think I'm pronouncing this correctly. Robles or Robles, I think, messaged me, where can I find a video showing how to do the exercise such as standing windmill, static back arm glides, and cats and dogs? So Robles, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It's kind of like Paso Robles, which my aunt and uncle live in. So, and it's spelled the same way. So I'm going to think Paso Robles. Robles. Robles, by the exercises that you just listed there, standing windmill, static backs, static back arm glides, and cats and dogs. I'm going to go out on a ledge, not too much since I, created that. And I think you're talking about the routine for scoliosis, okay? Which is actually interesting since Gonzalez just asked a question about cats and dogs and how it could benefit someone with scoliosis. So these are perfect back-to-back questions. But you can find links to video tutorials for all those exercises inside the original post. This one being correcting common posture deviations, otherwise known as thoracic offset with rotation, aka scoliosis. And I'll link to that in the show notes below inside, which is basically the YouTube description. Okay, so you can find them in there. I remember I went back, tried to make more of them bold, but you'll see it's a bluer underline hyperlink text. So you just scroll over it. You'll notice your little pointer arrow goes more to a cursor. Like you'll notice it's clickable. And when you click it, it'll open up a new tab or window depending on your browser settings. And it will play you a video tutorial where my wife Anya and I are showing you how to get into position, how to do the exercise, where you should feel the exercise, common mistakes to avoid, all of that, okay? And just like I recommended Gonzalez, who asked about cats and dogs and scoliosis, I would definitely recommend you head over to optimizeself.ninja and click on the button just under the video player. Basically, when you go to the web page, it's logo, video player, and then there's the button to take the Optimize Self test. Click on that, which will then you put in your email. The link will be emailed to you, and then take the Optimize Self test and leave for me some more specific questions in there because that will help you form, I think, this was a good question, but it'll help you form higher quality, more specific questions to what you're currently struggling with, and it'll help give me the information I need to offer up better advice. It'll help me serve you better, okay? And then I can answer those questions in an upcoming episode of the Optimize Self Show. All right, so thank you, Robles, for that. And we've got one more here. All right, this one is from, this is kind of an interesting name, Deadlocked. Deadlock comments on Discuss, and Discuss is just a commenting deal I used on a website that I used to run. I still own, I just don't add anymore to, called thepostureguy.com. Says, I can't tell if I'm condition 1 or 3. Okay, so Deadlock, I can't recall. I'm sorry, I do recall. I made a note here. So you made that comment on what condition is your posture in. And for those of you that haven't read this, all links to any referenced video post that I've done in the past, I'll make sure to link to in the show notes below. So this one's called What Condition is Your Posture in? And it takes you basically through, I show you how to tell if you're condition 1, 2, or 3. And Deadlocked, I like that username, it says, I can't tell if I'm condition 1 or 3. I had to check that, make sure I don't have enough fingers. And so they're very similar, except for one thing in which they're completely opposite, okay? And I'll focus just on that one thing, okay? So how you'll tell condition 1 versus 3, let me make sure you can see me here. Condition 1 will have the anterior pelvic tilt. So that's where the waistband, the front, will be lower than the back. Your ASIS, otherwise known as your anterior superior iliac spine, will be lower toward the floor than your PSIS, otherwise known as your posterior superior iliac spine. You can see why we use acronyms, right? It's a mouthful. So when you have that type of look where your waistband, and you'll be able to feel your ASIS, it's a pretty bony protrusion right there, and your PSIS, it's another bony one, almost like a dimple there. When this is lower than this and tilted that way, that's an anterior pelvic tilt. Sorry, let me turn more sideways. And you have your condition 1. Now, if you're opposite of this, so your posterior pelvic tilt, right? So now the ASIS is higher off the floor than your PSIS, so your butt is tucked, right, like so, that's a condition 3. So they share a lot of things similar in terms of shoulder position, shoulders being rolled forward, knees and feet being turned out, maybe a kyphotic upper back, those types of things. So really just focus on the pelvic tilt. If you have an anterior pelvic tilt, you're a condition 1. If you have a posterior pelvic tilt, you're a condition 3. All right? It's that simple, or should keep it that simple. Easy peasy. All right? Let's see, was there any other question from Deadlock? No, that was it. Also, in that post, what condition your posture is in, once you determine which condition you're in, then do the routine that goes along with that condition. There's a routine for condition 1, 2, and 3. But Deadlock, I just thought, how awesome would that be if that wasn't a username, that was this actually person's real name. And it's not so crazy to think because, celebrities are calling their kids Pilot and Apple and things like that. So, but I'm going to go out on a limb and think Deadlocked is a username, not a real name. Sorry, first tangent of the show. Damn, and I had something good there. Okay, now I remember. As important as postural corrective exercise is to correcting whether you're condition 1 or 3, the question that I would pose you if you were right in front of me, and virtually I guess you kind of are, is, what is it that you did to get there? What kind of parts of life have added up that put together this formula or this recipe to cause you having condition 1 or condition 3 posture? By which I mean, it's not just a lack of doing postural corrective exercises, right? It's not that you haven't been doing condition 1 or condition 3 exercise routine enough. You probably just recently learned about them. No, it's the quality of all the foundations of your health. So things like breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise, things like that. So take those into consideration, because really the quality, but also the results that you get from the exercises are predetermined by the quality of each of those foundations of health that I just previously mentioned. So what I would recommend after you determine if you're condition 1 or 3, and now that should be pretty straightforward which one you are, in addition to doing the condition 1 or condition 3 exercise routine, is head on over to optimizeself.ninja and take the Optimize Self test, just like I recommended everyone else to do who hasn't already done so, like Barbara. That way by taking the test, you will be able to formulate questions that are more specific to what you're dealing with, while simultaneously giving me the information I need so that I can give you better, more precise advice to what it is you're trying to currently accomplish, okay? Basically, you'll be helping me help you, help serve you better, okay? So definitely do that. And then stick around. I did include timestamps in the show notes, not both, I would say for Fit Chick with a C, for Matt Bishop, for Gigi Gonzalez, for Robles, and for Deadlocked. But hopefully all 5 of you stuck around and watch this, because now we're going to get into Barbara's question, or I should say questions. I think she had 2. And you're going to see I'm going to go much deeper and wider than this, not because I'm holding anything back with anybody previously, like Deadlocked or Robles. It's because I have more information to go off of, so I can offer more advice. And this is why I recommend everyone who hasn't already done so to head over to optimizeself.ninja and take the Optimize Self test. So let me grab some water, and then we're going to get into Barbara's questions, all right? Okay, let me get into kind of a comfortable position here. Okay, so Barbara, as I previously mentioned, she is a new member of the Optimize Self Dojo, and also I'd like to thank her for taking the time. It only takes a few minutes, but more so the initiative to take the Optimize Self test. So Barbara, thank you for that, being a good example for all the other Optimize Self ninjas and ninjettes. And inside she asked, Where does someone like me begin when there are so many function and mobility areas to conquer? So this is a question I get asked frequently is, if one thing hurts, like knee pain or lower back pain or something, obviously you start with that. But what happens when multiple things are hurting or when multiple things are out of alignment or not functioning correctly? So what I would recommend to Barbara and anyone else watching, listening, is start with what hurts the most and or is the most out of alignment posture-wise, and then proceed with the next most severe symptom or part of the body that's out of alignment. So for example, if you had lower back pain and knee pain, but on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, the lower back pain was a 9 and the knee pain was a 4, start with the lower back pain, and then once that kind of cools off, either goes completely away or is diminished significantly, then go ahead and move on to the knee pain routine. And Barbara, now that she is a member of the Optimize Self Dojo, she can find all these routines that are conveniently categorized and everything inside of the Optimize Self First Aid Kit, which is inside the Optimize Self Arsenal, which is inside the Optimize Self Dojo. You follow that? It's actually really easy when you join to find your way around. It's all housed in a private Facebook group. And again, we'll talk more about what's included in the dojo later. Let's see, what else, Barbara? I wrote down a couple notes here. As you proceed, keep in mind that the results you get from the exercises, I've mentioned this previously to Deadlock, who wrote in, but keep in mind that the results you get from the exercises are predetermined by the quality of the other foundations of health. So, don't take that lightly or with a grain of salt. In fact, I would say that the foundations of health that precede exercise, which are really all of them, are more important. So they could be done simultaneously, but I've seen in the past people say, oh, I'll do this exercise, and yeah, it feels good, but then the effects wear off and the pain comes back. And it's because they're trying to exercise their way out of pain. And that only works to a certain point, and you can't out-exercise a suboptimal lifestyle, meaning that you might be doing the right exercises for your particular symptom or postural misalignment, whether that be a dysfunction or compensation or both. But if you're not breathing properly, right? Imagine if you have neck, shoulder pain, right? And your breathing mechanics are all screwed up. And instead of breathing diaphragmatically down in the belly area, east to west, laterally, that's not happening. Well, the breathing has to come from somewhere. Well, it's coming up here in the chest and the shoulders and the neck. Well, the average human takes, I think it's 30,000 breaths per day. You can check online, but let's say 30,000 breaths per day. Well, that's 30,000 tiny shoulder shrugs you're doing. So you can do half an hour or even an hour worth of exercise, but you're breathing all 24 hours, whether you're conscious or subconscious. And if it's happening up here, no amount of exercise is going to make up for that suboptimal breathing, Or if your hamstrings are really tight and you stretch them and you do other exercises to feed them slack, right, through correcting your postural alignment. But if those tissues are stiff and tight due to chronic dehydration, then, it's like asking beef jerky to be flexible. We all know it's not, because beef jerky is dried up muscle, right? The dried up meat. And what happens if you try to bend or flex jerky? It either doesn't at all or it rips and tears. Well, obviously you don't want that happening to your hamstring or any other part of your body. So in order to get the most out of the exercise, the time and the energy that you invest into the exercise, you want to make sure that you're properly hydrated, because you don't want beef. You don't want your muscle, tendons, ligaments, and everything to be beef jerky-like. You want them to be like nice, supple filet mignon, right? So those are just two examples. I can go on and on with sleep and nutrition and stress and things like that. But it never surprises me when working with people, whether it be in the Optimize Self Dojo or one-on-one or with a retainer, if people aren't getting the results that they want, it's usually because they're trying to accelerate in one area, usually exercise, while having their foot on the brake in other areas. So they're trying to exercise, right? Foot on the gas, pedal to the metal. I'm doing all I can, but then they have several feet on several brakes. Their foot's on the breathing brake. Their foot's on the hydration break. Their foot's on maybe the nutrition break. Maybe they're eating foods that they think are healthy for them, but then when we actually go through an elimination diet or do a food intolerance or food sensitivity test, we find out, oh, these things are actually causing systemic inflammation in your body, and that's what's holding you back or taking away from the foot on the accelerator in the exercise. So I just say this as kind of something to be aware of for Barbara and anyone else watching. Is I not only would I hate to see, I've seen in the past, and I hate to see anyone striving, put a lot of time and effort into exercise and either not get what they want or get, maybe some benefit, but not as much as they deserve because they haven't addressed the other foundations of their health. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Let's see. Barbara also asks, is it better to work on one area until there are some results, then move on to the next area, or is it better to tackle all areas equally? I have a feeling you already answered this. I did kind of touch upon this earlier, so actually I don't want to repeat myself. Let me check something really quick, because I made a couple notes here. Yeah, so like I said, you can always start with what hurts the most or what's most out of alignment posture-wise. That's kind of a good rule of thumb of where to start. But if you have too many symptoms or too many postural misalignments and it seems, a bit too overwhelming, then what I'd recommend is starting with one of the condition routines. And I actually linked to that in this show. So if you check the show notes on YouTube, it's a post I did back on the Posture Guide titled, What Condition is Your Posture In? And inside there, if you click on that link, it'll take you to the page, and there's a routine for condition 1, 2, and 3. And you can, you'll be able to easily figure out which one you are and then which routine you should do. And that's kind of more global, that's more general, okay? So that's how if you wanted to kind of, okay, I'm just gonna go over my posture altogether rather than just knee pain, just back pain or anything, that's another route you can take, okay? Again, that's if just all the symptoms and all the postural misalignments, you're like, oh my gosh, I think there's 8 routines I should be doing and then do this one and this one and this one. Then I would say go ahead and do one of the condition routines. If you're only dealing with 2 or 3 symptoms, then yeah, especially if you're only dealing with 2 or 3, then I might take them one symptom or one postural misalignment at a time, okay? And all of that can be found, again, inside the Optimize Self First Aid Kit, which is inside the Optimize Self Arsenal, which is inside the Optimize Self Dojo. So check there as well. Let's see. Barbara also said she is in pain 24/7. She didn't know to what severity. Is the pain constant? Does it go up and down? In my experience, it usually is up and down. It's going to stay constant. To that, I would recommend to her and anyone else in a similar situation is to become hyper aware through self-quantification. And Barbara, now having access to the Optimize Self Dojo and the Optimize Self Arsenal, has access to something that, oh my gosh, I wish I would have had years ago, because I've been now doing this in the Making Bodies Better world 13 plus years. If I had this, it would have saved me thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. It would make things much simpler. I refer to it as the kick butt list of self-optimization apps. It's basically a list of apps that you can load on some iOS devices. There's also some recommendations for Android. I don't know as much on that mobile operating system, but on iOS, that you can download and test, measure, and track all your foundations of health: breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and exercise. Because I definitely believe that what gets measured gets managed and improves. So that's important. I'll give you a quick example. A lot of times when I ask people, how their hydration is, a lot of people says, oh yeah, I drink plenty of water, or I drink a lot of water. And I always kind of make the joke. I said, my wife and I, we've been traveling for the past 2.5 years all over the world, in Europe and America and Canada, a lot of places. And I said, it's interesting, I said, we've never traveled anywhere and seen on any measuring device We've seen cups, meters, all that stuff. Cups, liters, not meters. If I said meters, sorry. But never have we seen it said a lot of or plenty of. So obviously it's a jokingly way of saying, that's very vague. Plenty of, a lot of, it's relative to what were you drinking before. If you're only drinking a thimble of water, now you're drinking a cup of water. Well, yeah, that's a lot more than you were previously. I recommend, as a good starting off place, and so do a lot of other people in the health, fitness, wellness area, suggest half your body weight in ounces of water as a starting point, okay? Half your body weight in ounces of water. And then more than that, if you have a physically active job, or if you work out, if you're somewhere where it's particularly dry. It's actually kind of dry out right now, that's why I've been drinking more. If you have to talk a lot, like I'm doing right now, every time I'm talking, right, I'm expelling moisture out of my mouth. That's moisture I have to replace, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's important to measure your hydration and make sure you're consistently getting a minimum of half your body weight in ounces of water. Because truth be told, most people aren't. And I've even noticed there's been times where I've slacked and I notice my performance, how I feel isn't as good. And when I look back, it's like, have I been tracking my water? And I look back at my water tracking app, the water log, and I go, no, I haven't. I've been lazy. But it's nice to know, to be able to self-reflect and look back and go, I've been good. Ooh, look, these last couple of days I haven't been as good. Either I didn't track or I did, and I haven't been drinking as much water as need be. Because then through information, through self-quantification, I own that data. I know. I haven't outsourced it to a doctor or anyone else. And now I know, oh, okay, let me get this back up to snuff, and oh, boom, I'm feeling good again. So it's really cool to own that information and be able to know through basically like diagnostics, right? Like mechanics. My brother-in-law, he's a mechanic, and we have deals where you plug in the car and it tells you, oh, this is what's going on, and here's what needs to be replaced or what fixed. And before that, and I know he can too, listen to an engine or listen to something, go, okay, that means this, and if this, then that, then we need to replace this. So diagnostics and having that information is key to be able to properly diagnose something and then know what's the next action to take. And those apps, oh my gosh, so valuable. I always tell people, if you're not measuring this stuff, how are you supposed to improve upon it? So it comes in handy a lot. Love those things. Let's see, what else? Barbara's lowest score of the 7 foundations of health was exercise. She gave herself a 1 out of 10, 10 being the best, followed by stress and movement, which were both 3s. And she said she determined this, by her brain, which kind of sounds like, basically how she feels or how she thinks she's doing in each of those foundations of health. To which I reply, not just to Barbara, but to everybody, including myself, what you think and how you feel are usually lagging indicators of health. A lot of people say like, oh, I'll drink water when I'm thirsty. And usually at that point, not that you're gonna die, but it's usually you're dehydrated way before that. Even as little as, and sorry, I just keep going back to hydration as an example, but we'll go with it. Even as little as 5%, being 5% dehydrated. Now, obviously, you're not going to die from that. You're not going to become sick or anything, but it can lower cognitive performance by 30%. And I know Barbara, as I'm sure anybody else watching this show, being healthy is not just about, hey, I'm not dead and not in a hospital, but it's about being able to, not just be out of pain, but be able to live without limitations, being able to do whatever you want and being able to perform at the best of your abilities, being able to be the best version of yourself possible. So again, that's why, thinking something and feeling something, not to take anything away from that, that is important, but I think testing, measuring, and tracking things, especially with the very available and very affordable technologies that we have nowadays, makes it so much easier to self-quantify, to own that data, to own that information, and then be able to change and manipulate it through your daily actions, i.e. your habits, and have a monumental shift on your health. I mean, that is beauty. That is, I love that. And it's funny because Barbara, we were exchanging some emails. She's from Canada, and yeah, my wife and I spent 4.5 months in Vancouver last year. We absolutely love it there. We're probably actually going to settle just south of the Canadian border in Bellingham, Washington. Also love it there and visit. So Barbara, we'll come by and say hi. Absolutely love it there. And so I thought for kind of speaking towards this point of how you think and feel are usually lagging indicators of health, I thought I would use a Wayne Gretzky quote, which is skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. And then I made one little addition, or is. All right, so skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been or is. I think that's perfect for, in how to kind of manage, test, measure, and track the foundations of your health. Let's see. Oh, and she also sent another email. Excuse me being fidgety here. Let me find that email. Let's see. What were the notes I made about it? Let's see. She likes the young Grasshopper, Jess. Yeah. Also says the optimizeself.ninja/system link was broken. So Barbara, thank you for bringing that to me. I'm going to test that out. I don't know if it's something in your email browser or on my end, but I'm going to definitely test it on my end. So I always appreciate people bringing to my attention things that aren't properly working, because I want them to work for you. So if anyone else ever finds anything that it seems like, hey, this isn't working properly, please contact me and I'll get right on it. But Barbara, I have actually added that link in the show notes below. So if you wanted to do that, it'll say Optimize Self, about the Optimize Self system. There'll be a colon and then the actual link to a YouTube video where that should have linked to. So you can check that out, as well as, let's say, she says, meanwhile, I'm going to explore other parts of your site. So much good stuff to learn. I see you prefer us to contact via Twitter. I don't have Twitter, Instagram accounts, or even a cell phone. I do have a Facebook account, but I haven't used it yet. Now I will. It's not that I'm dense or live in the forest, but there's so many beautiful forests in Canada. Oh, love it there. Sorry, that was me going off script email. I'm just not all that interested in technology, too stressful. My TV and computer were bought in 2006 and still work quite well. Good. Hopefully it was a Mac, an Apple. My mother, on the other hand, is almost 87, and she uses all the above as well as an iPad. Don't worry, Justin, I'm not going to be bothering you every day with emails. It takes time away from my bird watching. Have a great day. All right. So I wanted to share that with you because, and we're about wrapping up here. But I would say using tech, and I know part of this is a generational thing, from millennials to Gen X to baby boomers, and et cetera, et cetera. It's funny, a lot of people think like, oh, you're young, you just love technology. And I do, but not because I'm dependent on it, because I like to actually use it to, like I said, test, measure, and track health. I like how seamless and more efficient it could make things. But I understand how a lot of people, technology could be off-putting, it can be scary, and people could want to avoid it because it's just like anything in life. Anything we don't understand, we're not familiar with, or certain about, we try to kind of, you stay over there. And I'm that way on certain pieces of technology. I don't think all tech is great, but I love using tech to network, to learn, to find solutions. Like I mentioned before, improve time management and efficiency in life. That way you can do less and live more. Do the things you love doing, like Barbara mentioned, bird watching. And I guarantee you, there's an app for that to track the bird, the migration. and everything. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because my wife, actually, that's what her master's paper was on. Um, so you two will have to talk sometime later. She loves birds as well. She loves all animals. Um, so yeah, let me grab that email again. But yeah, the iPad, for some people, that's all they need. I'm not going to turn this into a tech show, although later on I may do an episode about certain pieces of software, both hardware and software, you can use to become your optimized self, to rediscover your health, upgrade your fitness, and or optimize your wellness. Of course, all while having fun through lifestyle design. Because I definitely think that once you take the time, and yes, I totally admit it takes time to sit down and learn something new. Doesn't matter if you're young or old, anything new to any of us is something we have to learn. But once you take the time to do it, you know, when you can automate stuff or do things that used to take you an hour to manually do, that then once you automate only takes half an hour to do, then you're saving a half an hour every time. And technology and automation, I look as to your is the same thing to your time as compounding interest is to your money. And a lot of people get that, right? You invest in mutual funds and bonds and stocks and all this, and make your money work for you. Make your money make money, and it's the same thing. I really, I help people, automate things, delegate things, procrastinate on purpose with certain things, and then only do the most important and urgent things that only you can do, but only after going through those filters. A lot of technology nowadays can automate things or make things that used to take a lot more time, money, and effort, like the self-optimization apps that I made reference to earlier, a lot easier, cheaper. I mean, just so simple. Things that you can get from the doctors, but it cost you hundreds for one time, and you can get on a free or $2 app. It's amazing. Yes, it takes you actually having to learn how to do it. But if you spend the 20, 30 minutes to learn how to do so, you're going to earn way much more of that just in the first use of it, let alone continual use. So I like that. When I delegate to people, when it's something that I can't do, or even if it's I can do, it's not the best use of my time. Even if it's something that would take me half an hour, I'll spend an hour or an hour and a half teaching that person how to do it, which you might go, well, now you're spending more time on that thing. Very true, but that's only the first time. After they do that thing 2 or 3 times, now it's even, and everything after that person does for me is profit on my end in terms of time. And as we all know, time is money. So I always recommend people, not all technology is for everybody, and I don't think everybody should be or needs to be a techie, but I always recommend people be open to learning about new technology and seeing what fits for your life. It may not necessarily fit for you, and vice versa, but to Barbara and everyone else, I would definitely recommend looking into certain things, and I probably will do an episode later on tech and gadgets that you can use to help you rediscover your health, upgrade your fitness, optimize your wellness, and basically become the best version of yourself possible. So stay tuned for more on that, because like I said, the whole key of technology is so that you don't have to do as much. There's not so much input on your end, so that then your output gets better, and also you have more time to do less, live more, and enjoy your life doing the things that you love. For example, like bird watching, which sounds amazing, especially in Canada. There's a lot of eagles there. We were in, we also went to, was it Miracle Beach on the east, kind of northeast or central east, I guess, part of Vancouver Island. And we were there for 10 days. And right out of the place we were staying at, the backyard, there was seals and there were eagles. And gosh, there was so much there. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Probably one of, if not the best virtual offices we have had traveling around the world. So really want to come back to Canada. All right. So let's see. I think that about covers it for Barbara. Barbara, thank you for being the shining example of how I'd like people to kind of go through the system, especially optimize self-test, so that way I could be of more service. I can offer more value because I have more information to go off of. So I hope that the answers I've given you here will help you, as well as I know everything else inside the Optimize Self Dojo, which you should have gotten an invitation for. I'll keep an eye and make inside. Hopefully that'll help you as well. All right, and of course, as always, if you have any questions as you proceed, then please contact me anytime. I know you said don't worry. What did you say? Don't worry, Justin. I'm not going to be bothering you every day with emails. You know what? That is absolutely fine if you want to or feel you need to. The reason I put the show on, the reason I created the Optimize Self Dojo, which I guess now is a good time to talk about, is because I love interacting with people like Barbara and Deadlocked and Gonzalez and Robles and Matt and Fit Chick with a C and all these people, wherever they happen to find me and come from. I love interacting with them. I love, and the Optimize Self Dojo is just taking that one step further and creating a group, kind of crowd sourcing, if you will, experience and knowledge, and kind of putting together a part mastermind, part accountability group, part support group, and then also giving access to everyone who's a member to this thing that I call the Optimize Self Arsenal, which is basically basically the most important things that I share with my one-on-one clients and those people that keep me on as a retainer, sharing those with them, basically a step-by-step guide on here's how to start optimizing each and every foundation of your health so that you can become your optimized self. So in a nutshell, that's what it's about. If the information here on this episode or anything you found in previous episodes, 1 through, what are they now, 13, you have found helpful, then what I would recommend is you take a look-see at what's included in the Optimize Self Dojo. And you can do that over at optimizeself.ninja. Because if you like what's in the show, again, this is just the surface. This is just the tippy top of the iceberg. Inside the dojo, because of the community and the way that it's configured and with the access to everything inside the Optimize Self Arsenal. And oh, did I mention we do weekly live training? So tomorrow I'm doing one every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, with the exception of a couple holidays and things like that. We meet weekly and we do live shows. So you can actually come on live with me and we can talk, whether you can do it by chat or if you want, you can come on video with me and we can talk about whatever you deem as most important, whatever you want to learn about. So it's very catered to those people inside. Yeah, we go much deeper and much wider on all these topics that we touch on inside the Optimize Self show. So if you want to learn more about that, head over to optimizeself.ninja, and again, at the top of the page, there'll be logo, video player, the button to take the Optimize Self test. Do so if you haven't already. And then below that, it goes into, here's all the things that's included inside the Optimize Self Dojo. And there's quite a bit. Just in the first year, there's $3,650 worth of value. And right now, I've opened up a limited amount of memberships, each one being $1 more than the other. And I believe now it's up to $16, I believe. So you can get it for $16 right now, one-time payment, which is huge. I have a business mastermind I belong to, and when I told them this, people in online business and marketing, they thought it was crazy for selling memberships at that low a price. I guarantee you it is not going to stay that low. After a certain amount are sold, the price is going to go up significantly and it'll turn into a membership. But right now you can get in for as little as I think $15 or $16. I gotta check the current price, but still $15, $16. Heck, even if it's 20, heck, even if it was 365, it's still going to be a tenth of the cost, which it isn't right now. It's 15 or 16 bucks. Than the value you get just in the first year. So it's huge, huge value. I even had someone contact me the other day who was wanting to work one-on-one, and I said, yeah, I would love to. Have you checked out the dojo first? And I said, join there first, and then if need be, let's work one-on-one, which, one-on-one sessions, just to let you know, not the boast or anything, is $300 for an hour to an hour and a half session with me. And as nice as that would be to sell an individual session. I said, you know what, you're going to get more bang for your buck out of the dojo membership. I said, so start there, which I think they got in for, I think $12 or $13 at the time. And then I said, if need be, we could do a one-on-one after. But I said, start there. And I think, it could be wrong, because it's still early, but I think they're going to be fine on that instead of paying me $300 for one time, So I think that's where the value is at over at the Optimize Self Dojo, which you can find out all about over at optimizeself.ninja. I'm saying Optimize Self a lot, sorry. It's what happens when your company and website and all that is called that. But I think that wraps it up for today. I guess my closing kind of call to action, as well as question I have for you. Call to action is, if you haven't taken the Optimize Self test already, please do so over at, oops, sorry, it's over here. There we go. We're at optimizeself.ninja. That way I can answer your questions more thoroughly, like I did Barbara's, inside a future upcoming episode of the Optimize Self show. So that's the call to action. My question for anyone who's continued to watch the end, and if you have, thank you, is how would you like to best interact with me? Because Barbara said about Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and I know some people are more on social media, others aren't. So, how, in a perfect world, would you like to interact with me? Would it be on Facebook? Would it be on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, email? Right now, all of those are an option. Or something I've been even thinking about for the show is actually, because I use Google Voice, which love, they don't pay me to say that, I just like it, is actually offering out my personal number for people to either text or leave me voicemails, to which then I could answer here on the show. So let me know if you'd be interested in either. Like I said, right now you can find me on, obviously, optimizeself.ninja. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, email. For any of the social media, just search for Optimize Self Ninja. You'll find me. But yeah, let me know about the phone, text, voicemail type of thing if you guys would be into that. All right? And I think that does it. So I will wave goodbye, put on the outro screen. Try to remember to hook up some annotations to these underlined text here so they link somewhere. If not, I'm sure I'll eventually get around to it. But otherwise, thank you for joining me on today's episode. You guys are awesome. Love you. And I look forward to seeing you inside the next video. Until then, take care and be a good human.